All right, so Hunter, on your lift here, we see good tension in the bottom. We don't see a whole lot of slough coming off the bar in the midsection here. Everything seems to be tight torque created. But what we do see is just a slight raise of the hips versus the chest. Okay, so the hips come up just at a little bit higher pace than the chest. That's going to kind of balance out right here, and we're going to kind of rise together. Now we're starting to get into that second knee bend. Our first knee bend happened right here. We pull back, and right there we're going to come into a second knee bend. And a couple things. I think your knuckles to the floor could be cocked back a little bit more and more aggressive there. I think right here we could be a little bit more patient with going into that second pull. Keep the chest over the bar, and really these knees should be getting pushed back still. So we should be creating like super tight hamstrings, a lot of tension in the hamstrings, and the knees getting pulled back all the way until probably this frame. Okay, and almost vertical with the knees. When we go into the second pull right here, you started to bring your knees forward again. Your knees come forward and your hip starts to come forward, but the bar really leaves the hips right here, and this is where your power comes from, and this really doesn't give you full hip extension. All right, it's a kind of just like a non-aggressive hip extension movement right here happening, where I really think you could probably get your hips to like this level and pop them hard. Pop them hard right there. We should be popping them forward. Okay, so we really should be seeing, I think, just a little bit more this direction with the hips. That's going to lead us into the next problem that we see with when we talk about our triple extension before we leave the ground. Because our hips aren't forward enough, we're a little bit too vertical. And if our hips come forward, it's going to create this type of an angle in our body. And that's the angle that we want in the snatch. We want an aggressive pull back and up. Okay, not just up. We want to be going backwards with our pull. All right. If we look, that's where you leave the ground on that last phrase. And our last thing would be our elbows. They really should be leading and getting pulled high, and that's as high as they get pulled. Once they start to break, you go under. So instead of finishing hard with the arms and an aggressive turnover, we kind of start to pull ourselves under. I think you could be a little bit more aggressive with the elbows, and our land is kind of wacky whack. The top half of your snatch up here looks great. Good lockout. We got everything. We got the eyes focused straight ahead, but we got like a knee inside the toe, and we're wide. And anyways, got some issues with our footwork there. And I think if we get those things dialed in, you're going to see that lift really take off in some of your improvements. So here again, we'll watch it all in one motion. So we come up, second knee bend, boom. I think the hips could come more aggressive, bow, more pop, and elbows lead, get a high shrug, and then get that footwork dialed in. All right.